Hey guys, so this past Sunday we heard the gospel. There was actually two gospels, one sort of bookended by another. A man named Jairus, who's the leader of the synagogue, comes up to Christ and begs him to come and heal his daughter, who's sick to the point where he's concerned that she's going to die. Christ agrees to this, and on their way over, a woman spots Christ, who's trying to maneuver through the crowds, and she goes out and touches just the hem of his garment. Now Christ feels power go out from him. So he asks all of his apostles and all the people around him, who touched me? And everyone thinks he's nuts. Everyone's brushing up against him. Everyone touched him. But he says, who touched me? I felt power go out from me. The woman finds that she can't hide, so she goes down, she shows herself. I'm the one that touched you. I found healing immediately. This woman had had an issue of blood for 12 years. She'd been bleeding for 12 years. She'd seen all the doctors. They'd taken all of her money, but nothing helped. But Christ, just by the touch of just the hem of his garment, she finds healing. Quickly, speedily, instantly. Christ's power goes to her. So he turns to her and he says, don't be afraid, woman. Your faith has made you well. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. They continue to Jairus' house. But before they can even get started, a man comes, a servant maybe at the house, comes and says, don't trouble the master, your daughter is dead. Must have been devastating for Jairus. But Christ says, don't be afraid, she's only sleeping. They hurry on over there. There's people in front of the house, they're weeping, they're lamenting, very sad that this girl has died. When Christ says that she's only sleeping to the people, not to weep, they mock him, they laugh at him. Because to them, just like it would look like to us, she's dead. She doesn't have a breath upon her lips. But they go inside. Christ takes Peter, James, John, the mother and father of the little girl, and everybody else is kicked out. Christ kneels down beside her and asks the little girl to arise. And as if from just an afternoon nap, she gets up. She's awake. He asks that they give her food. She eats. And the parents are just astonished. Christ says, don't tell anyone what happened here. So you have these two gospel stories. Again, one sort of viced in the middle between another. What do they have in common? Well, we see the faith is involved in both of them. We have the faith of Jairus, a leader of the synagogue, a Jew, who goes over to Christ and has at least the faith of a child to just ask Christ to come and to heal his daughter. He's seen what Christ is capable of doing. So he asks this Christ to come and heal his daughter, make her well, keep her from dying. And then we see the faith of a woman who's been sick for a long time, a woman who's had an issue of blood. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but basically if somebody's bleeding, you can't touch anyone, and you can't touch them either. It's part of the old law in Israel, because blood is something that's sacred, it's something that's holy. When you mess with it, it makes you impure, because we're just fallen, we're sinners. We're not supposed to be touching holy things. So, since blood is holy, and she's been bleeding for 12 years, just being in that crowd with all the people brushing up against her was against the law. As it stood at that time, it was against the law. But she does it anyway. And with faith, she reaches out, doesn't wave down Christ and say, hey, want to give me some of your power? Hey, can you give me healing? Hey, can I just touch the hem of your garment? No, she does it of her own volition. She kneels down, she grabs just the tip of his garment, and she's instantly healed. And what Christ says is extraordinarily true. Your faith has saved you. Your faith has made you well. Your faith has healed you. Go in peace. Jairus had faith to ask Christ, having seen what he did, to expect that he could do more. But the faith of the woman who goes against the law to touch Christ and find healing in just a little brush against his garments, that's the faith that we as Christians need to attain to. Recognizing that if we go to God with hope and with faith, he will give us what we need. He will give us healing, and he will save us. We just have to approach him with that very strong faith of the woman. Now, I think it's important to realize again that since she's breaking the law of Moses here, the expectation of the people would be this woman who's been bleeding all of these years, touching someone would have sort of spread that impurity that she's had to live with personally. So that experience of hers being not allowed to touch anyone, can't even touch her own husband, her own daughter, granddaughter. She can't go to the temple and worship. She's isolated from the whole of her community because of her affliction. People probably thought that she was a sinner for having to experience this infirmity. With all of that, the expectation of everyone will be if you touch someone, again, that impurity spreads. It's like a disease, you know? One person breaks the law, you touch someone else, suddenly they're lawbreakers too. Gotta go get ritually washed. Go see the priest. Well, what we see here is something dramatically different. Because Christ has come not merely to abide by the law, but to fulfill it and to see it pass away. Christ, in some sense, is the law incarnate. But his law is more true than what Israel's living by at the time. And so, this woman, reaching out and touching Christ, her impurity doesn't spread to Christ. Christ doesn't say, "Who touched me?" because he recognized some sinfulness coming into contact with him. Instead, Christ's power exudes from him, even from his garments, even from the clothes he's wearing. Christ's power reaches out to those who are willing to accept it and to take it by force. This woman, without asking, goes up and touches Christ, and his power and his purity enter into her. And by so doing, she's healed. She reaches out, and the divine touches her. So even though we look at this gospel, and I think a lot of people think of the miracle at the very end where the girl, who to us is dead, is to Christ only sleeping and raised up as easily as he will raise all those righteous up at the end of days. This girl would be the primary miracle. But again, that's from a childlike faith of the Father to come and bring Christ, who's able to do that. It's the faith of the woman that we need to have as Christians. So let's focus on that this week. How much do we really reach out to Christ expecting him to give us something, expecting him to give us a gift? Do we go to the liturgy? Or do we participate even in our prayers at home, our almsgiving, our fasting, knowing full well that God will grant us what we need through our encounter with him? That woman had a motive. She had a plot in mind to go to touch Christ, to receive something good, the healing of her body and her soul. Do we approach the liturgy? Do we approach even the chalice with the body and blood of Christ, expecting to truly receive healing of body and soul? Or do we go because that's just what we do? That's just the way it is. It's Sunday, we go to the liturgy, we have communion, we leave, whatever. Time to get on with the rest of our lives. We need to approach God so that we're not just brushing up against him like the crowd. The crowd didn't receive his power because they weren't looking for his power. The woman sought his power, and she received healing readily, and it was immediate. And if we're able to have the faith of that woman and to reach out to God and to not even ask, but just expect that healing, to allow his divine touch to touch us when we reach out to him, that's our goal as disciples of the Lord, the Son of Man. With that, guys, keep doing your readings. We're getting closer to Christmas. Hopefully we'll have something fun coming up. And I will talk to you all next time.